But I want to move on to the other aspect of this debate, because as this debate continues over harsh punishment for rape and those accused of this gang rape in particular, the Supreme Court's decision to commute the death sentence of a rapist and a murderer in another case in Pune has raised eyebrows. The accused man in this case brutally killed an elderly woman. He chopped off her fingers and then raped her pregnant granddaughter-in-law, stabbing her 19 times. The top court, though, commuted his sentence to life, saying that he was drunk and therefore perhaps not in a normal state of mind.
Dhananjay Chatterjee, a security guard, was hanged for raping and murdering a 14-year-old girl in Kolkata in 1990. Last Thursday, a Thiruvananthapuram court sentenced to death an auto driver who raped and murdered a 15-year-old girl alone at home. Yet, 3 days before the Delhi gang rape, the Supreme Court commuted to life term the death sentence of a 23-year-old man who killed a 65-year-old woman and raped her pregnant granddaughter-in-law. The convict stabbed the elderly woman 21 times, severed 4 fingers of one hand and chopped off the other wrist. He raped the pregnant woman, stabbed her 19 times and left believing she was dead. He then bragged to his friends about what he had done. Yet, the Supreme Court felt it did not qualify as a rarest of rare. The judges said since his eyes were bloodshot and he smelled of alcohol, he could have been drunk and therefore unaware of what he was doing. The family has said the convict has no right to live, while their lawyer has said this was one of the rarest of the rare cases.
Supreme Court being inconsistent is totally wrong. The Supreme Court also has to see the circumstances. And being intoxicated, it is always a defense. They say that being an intoxicated man doesn't know what he is doing. So that is the reason it is there. It's a recognized principle of law.
The judgment by itself is atrocious. If a person gets drunk and commits a crime and it's connected with the drunkenness which was intentional, there is no question of either acquitting the person or being lenient with the punishment. The larger issue is there differential sentencing that takes place? Are people in similar cases getting different punishments?
Correct.
The short answer to that is yes. No less by the Supreme Court as anybody else. We have to make up our minds about what rarest of rare means.
At a time when there is nationwide clamour for stricter punishment for rape and when a Supreme Court panel has admitted that the rarest of rare criteria is now largely the judge's discretion, there is definitely a need for clearer laws on just what deserves a death penalty. Bureau Report, NDTV.
So is the judiciary inconsistent when it comes to the death penalty, and does the rarest of rare now need to be clearly defined? Joining us on this part of the program is Justice Hosbet Suresh, former judge of the Mumbai High Court and human rights activist. Also with us is Dushyant Dave, senior advocate of the Supreme Court. Let me ask Justice Suresh first. Justice Suresh, you know, when you look at this particular case from Pune, it's really shocked people, because when you think of rarest of rare, what can be more barbaric than somebody killing an elderly woman, chopping off her limbs, raping a woman who's several months pregnant and then stabbing her 19 times, leaving her for dead, bragging about it to his friends? What does qualify for rarest of rare if this doesn't?
See, I want to tell you certain things. Firstly, public opinion may be relevant, but that by itself is not a determining factor when it comes to constitutional interpretation and application of law.
But you didn't refer to
Now,
opinion.
one other thing is, public, of course, is demanding death sentence as if it's a mandatory death sentence they want. And our Supreme Court has repeatedly said mandatory death sentence is unconstitutional. Therefore, if you go back to the Criminal Procedure Code, originally the rule was that death sentence was the rule and life sentence was the exception. But in 1973, the law changed. And now, life sentence is the rule and death sentence is an exception. So if you have to give a death sentence, the judge has to give special reasons as to why he gives death sentence. Now, this question came to be determined by what is well-known case of Bachan Singh. And Bachan Singh court has laid down certain guidelines. The guidelines are that you have to consider not only the crime but also the criminal. This is not a crime alone. See that therefore today, in the case that you have referred to, which has come recently, the question is, what did the judges do? In the trial court, the judges did not take into the criminal. In the High Court, the judges did not take into the criminal story. What they did was the crime. And therefore, when it came to the Supreme Court, the charge was not denied. The accused lawyers plainly said, we don't want to argue on charge. We only want sentence to be changed from death sentence to life sentence.
And so the court explained
Now-
that. But are you saying, are you saying that you are comfortable with the idea of the rarest of rare principle being interpreted differently by different judges, which the Supreme Court itself a couple of months ago has said is a problem? Because they've said that there is no uniformity in application.
You see?
And therefore, that whole
Yes, that
principle
is
needs
true.
to be
I agree
revisited.
with you. I agree with you. There is no uniform application. In fact, if you remember, a few months ago, I was also one of them, 14 judges made a reference to the president that 13 accused who were given death sentence following Bachchan Singh Bachchan Singh's case was not properly applied. And that is how we said the death sentence given to them were all wrong. Here again, I want to tell you what the judges did. Judges did not do anything outside Bachchan Singh. What I'm trying to tell you is, they took the account of the crime, what the crime was, what was the crime. They also took into account the criminal.
India's #1 news app. Just got even better. Download NDTV's new app. Fully optimized for retina display. Full screen view. Faster response time. And Sudoku. NDTV's new iPad app. Download now.